Tonight, we have some breaking news straight away. There are reports coming in that Sri Lanka's President Maithripala Sirisena has dissolved the Sri Lankan Parliament. That's the latest update on the political crisis in the island nation of Sri Lanka. Reports are telling us that Sri Lanka's President Maithripala Sirisena has sacked the entire Parliament after the power struggle that's been on over the last 10 days or so. President Maithripala Sirisena yesterday had said that he would take every possible step to build long-lasting peace and reconciliation in the country. This was one of the options in front of him ever since he sacked Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and appointed Mahinda Rajapaksa, the former president, as the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. We have Ashwin Hemath Gama, Wion correspondent, joining us on the phone line from Colombo with the latest. Ashwin, it was widely speculated that the President, Maithripala Sirisena, would take this option to end the political crisis in Sri Lanka, so to speak.
Yes, in fact, this was in rumors for some days because President Sirisena failed to have the majority in the parliament, according to sources, because United National Party was so adamant that they have over 113 seats. So eventually the tension grew between the two parties and President was exploring all possibilities to dissolve the parliament. Well, there were no provisions for him to proceed according to our constitution, and ultimately, according to sources, he would have resorted to a previous judgment issued by the Supreme Court under President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga. So eventually, this evening, issuing a special gazette notification, President Sirisena took the government printing press under his purview under the Ministry of Defense. We call it the Department of Government Press. So it is right now under the President's direction. So most probably the gazette notification will come out dissolving the Parliament midnight today. The staff who entered the government press this morning for their usual shift is still working at the press, unable to go home. And according to confirmed sources, Presidential Secretariat has already issued the gazette notification to be printed at the government press, which they will print most probably in a few hours time. Yes.
Ashwin Hemath Gama, our correspondent, getting us the latest from Colombo. Breaking news coming in on the political crisis in Sri Lanka. President Maithripala Sirisena has dissolved the Sri Lankan Parliament. Ashwin, this does mean that Sri Lanka's political turmoil does not end. It continues, and we're staring at the possibility of another elections.
Absolutely right, because now everybody was expecting to watch the showdown at Parliament on the 14th, but now neither party, United National Party or the President Maithripala Sirisena's party, will be unable to show their majority in the Parliament. So this is, according to analysts, this is highly unconstitutional. So we may have to go for a fresh election in Sri Lanka.
Fresh elections in Sri Lanka is the next step, Ashwin, but you are giving us the minute-by-minute updates of what is going to happen from here on. Now, reports have come in, and it's a confirmation that the President of Sri Lanka, Maithripala Sirisena, has dissolved the Sri Lankan Parliament. And Ashwin, you were telling us in terms of what are going to be the next steps going forward from here on.
So, once this gazette notification comes out, still it's not even on the web. So once it's out, the Elections Commissioner will have to come out with the date. So it's a long process. It will start at least giving a month's notice. So it's not an easy task because political parties will have to rally and gather their resources, and it's a long process. But I don't think it will bring an end to the current political crisis because it has grown well overboard.
Right. And how soon do you think, or how much time do you think it's going to take for the fresh elections to take place in Sri Lanka?
At least 1 month it will take, at least.
Right. So we're talking about sometime in December is when Sri Lanka could be going to elections if everything is processed in quick time.
You're correct, absolutely, yes. So we need to wait and see until this Gazette notification comes out. So I'll keep you guys posted as soon as it comes out.
Right. We're waiting for the Gazette notification. That's what our correspondent Ashwin Hematkama is telling us, the Gazette notification from the government of Sri Lanka, because the president of Sri Lanka has dissolved the Lankan parliament. That's the big breaking story. And Ashwin, again, this is a huge development in the scheme of things, that all the interested parties and powers will be watching very, very closely.
I believe so, because now when this rumor came up initially, this was in the parliament a few days ago, the parties in the parliament who are opposing the independence party, they gathered and they have discussed to support the United National Party and to contest under a different logo other than the United National Party's conventional elephant logo, to remove that logo and to go as a coalition and fight against President Sirisena's party. So this is a major step, because there are certain different extremist parties as well.
Right.
So they have agreed to support the United National Party, because they still believe this the recent situation in the country is highly unconstitutional.
Right. And it is unprecedented, isn't it, Ashwin Hematkama? Has it ever happened in the history of Sri Lanka?
I agree with you, because this is the first time this sort of a thing took place in Sri Lanka, so there were no prior examples. That would have been the reason that Speaker of Parliament was unable to come out with a directive, and it of course worsened the matters and led the entire country to a halt. Even now, most of the departments are not functioning well.
Right. Ashwin, stay with us. For all the viewers who've just tuned in to Wion World is One, the latest breaking news from Sri Lanka is that the Lankan parliament has been dissolved. President Maithripala Sirisena will dissolve the parliament with effect from midnight tonight. The relevant Gazette notification has been sent to the government printer. The state-run Rupavahini has announced this. That's the latest coming in from Sri Lanka. Ashwin, we have a confirmation coming in from the state-run Rupavahini. Ashwin, if you're with us, our correspondent Ashwin Hematkama joining us on the phone line from Colombo with the latest details on the political crisis that is continuing unabated in Sri Lanka. Ashwin, if you can hear us. Right, I'm afraid we do not have Ashwin Hematkama on the phone line, but ladies and gentlemen, huge breaking news coming in from Sri Lanka. President of Sri Lanka, Maithripala Sirisena, will dissolve the Lankan parliament with effect from midnight tonight. A Gazette notification to that effect has been sent, and we are given to understand that fresh elections would be conducted in about a month's time, at least a month it will take. That's what we understand according to the due procedures under the Sri Lankan constitution. For now, the Lankan parliament has been dissolved by Maithripala Sirisena. Days and early weeks of political crisis in Sri Lanka now resulting in a situation where the country does not have a parliament anymore. It does have a president. It's unprecedented in the history of Sri Lankan politics and Sri Lankan governance. We have Lahiru Potmulla, journalist, joining us on the phone line from Colombo. Lahiru Potmulla, this is unprecedented in the history of Sri Lanka, and it could cause a law and order situation in the country.
Yes, it could. So the news just came in. The president has signed a Gazette notification dissolving parliament, and he has sent it to the government printer, so they have to issue the Gazette tonight. So the parliament will be dissolved midnight today, and we'll be having general elections soon. And I hope in a way it will be good to end the political instability we had for a couple of weeks now. In a way, it's a good sign, I think. Going for an election and people will have their say as to who will rule the country.
Right, but it will cost a lot of money to the exchequer, the state exchequer of Sri Lanka, Lahiru, won't it? This at a time when the economy is already under a lot of stress.
That's so true. I couldn't agree more with the spending so much money. I mean, we just had a new cabinet, new prime minister, assumption of duties, taking oath with all that, and then now on top of that, within 2-3 weeks, we are heading to a general election. It's going to cost a lot.
It's going to cost a lot, and also it is very important, the world is watching, Lahiru, that these elections are conducted in a free and a fair manner.
I hope so. I mean, the last general elections we had, the local government election, we also how peaceful it was, how free and fair it was. But I know now with all the instability, there are concerns how it will be conducted. But I think if President continue to stand his ground and make sure everything will be done accordingly, the election will be free and fair. But I understand there are some concerns instead of because of this instability.
Lahiru Potmulla, journalist, joining us on the phone line from Colombo. Thank you so much, Lahiru. The latest breaking news from Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's President Maithripala Sirisena has said that the parliament will be dissolved with effect starting midnight, and a Gazette notification to that effect has been sent to the government printer. And elections are the next step for Sri Lanka. That will take at least a month to be held.